Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Tonight, I'm so excited. Here we go. I'm so excited. Tonight's guest is the extraordinarily gifted and anointed Kyma Belardo, aka Kyma. Kyma will discuss the devastating effects of abuse, trauma, and triggers, and how meditation and self-love heals the soul. Kyma began her personal soul healing journey through meditation around 2015 while suffering from PTSD, chronic depression, and sporadic panic attacks. Amazed at how good 5 minutes of meditation made her feel, she began increasing her time, eventually making it a daily morning ritual. Now, as her practice developed, she began coming out of meditation inspired to write poetry and songs that reflected her meditation experiences. Through the years, Kyma would sing many of the songs to herself as a reminder to keep choosing her well-being as a top priority. A few years later, she began sharing them with others and was inspired to record her first vocal meditation in 2020. Her single, I Love Myself, is now available everywhere music is streamed. Kyma's mission is to motivate others to choose their self-care unapologetically and to do things that bring them the most inner and outer wellness and love. I want you to help me welcome my guest and actually my friend, Kyma Belardo. How are you?
Yeah, that's me.
Looks like I got you muted.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, there you are.
So good. Thank you.
I actually had, there's my music playing a little bit. I had the wrong speaker on for a minute, so I had to switch it in the middle of the intro. But I don't know if you can hear the...
I do. I'm like grooving to it a little bit.
Yeah, that's me. Welcome to the show. Yeah, every now and then I have some blips and glitches, but welcome, Kyma, my fellow God Squad member. How are you?
I am so good. Yes.
I am excited that you said yes to come on the show, even though, and I am so envious, but I know I'm going to get some of this when you get back, even though you are, I would say, on retreat.
Yes.
And you are where?
I am in the beautiful Sedona, Arizona. Yes.
I have always, that's on my bucket list. Sedona is on my bucket list. So don't be surprised if when you get back, you're going to have to start planning for the God Squad. We talked about this, for the God Squad to go back and make this. Look, we probably need to go back in 2021. I don't want to wait till 2021.
Yes, listen, I've already been planning my next visit. Like,
you haven't even left from this.
I haven't even left, and I'm already planning the next one.
That's awesome. That's amazing, and your story is amazing. You are amazing. I'm for the last 2 weeks, I have been honored to be able to host some of the sisters that I know and love. You know, and not that I don't love the others that come on, but a lot of times I have people on that I don't know them personally. We don't have a relationship. We're developing, friendships and so forth. But we've known each other for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't know exactly how awesome and amazing a person is until you have to step back, and see what they're doing as you go on with your life. And I know just recently I saw that you had a show, or I'm not going to call it a show. Well, I guess I would call it a a
Experience.
a spiritual experience that you
Yes.
presented.
Yeah.
Because you I know your bio talks about meditation, but you do a lot more. So before we get into all of, because we're going to get into some of the things that, of course, that led you into meditation and the need for healing, but you have a broader scope of who you are and what you do. I know your background is in early childhood. Is it early childhood education? And you
Yes.
still do work with that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with regard to that?
So I am a technical assistant with a program out of the University of Delaware. It's called the Delaware Stars program, where we go in and we rate child cares for quality. So I am a specialty technical assistant where I go in specifically to support early childhood educators that need support with their infants and toddlers. So that is my current position with that. But I had a childcare in the city of Wilmington for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
before closing that and kind of transitioning into this role. So this role excites me because it allows me to be a support to educators, therefore reaching more children. You
Mm-hmm.
know, ultimately, that's children have always been a very, very deep passion of mine. And I guess as we continue to talk tonight, you'll kind of understand more of why that is. But especially infants and toddlers, that really is such a magical time for a being, essentially like what happens during
Mm-hmm.
that time is what makes you who you are. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, they say that a person is basically who they are by the time from 0 to 3 years old. From 0 to 3 years old, you are basically who you are. And so what we do and how we treat infants and toddlers stays with them the rest of their lives. So I remember, when I was in college, hearing about how critical those early years were, and that's why I chose early education. Because I was like, they were saying that that's where you make the most impact. Later years, a child is basically who they are. It's not too much that you can change them a little bit, but they are who they are. But those early years is critical. And when I was in college, it was 0 to 5, but now research is showing that it's really 0 to 3. So,
That's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
because there's a saying, a quote that's quoted from one of the popes. I don't want to mess it up and say I'll just say one of the popes who said, "Give me the child for the first seven years, and
Mm,
I'll show you the man." And so that was that. Oh, it takes that first 7 years was
yeah,
what is critical. But when you're saying it's the first 3 years, so
yeah,
it's important. And I know there's also a scripture that says, "Train up a child in the way that it
there
should
you
go,
go.
and
Yeah,
when they're old, they won't
never
depart." So
depart from it. Yep.
so in other words, get them once you start them in a track. When you think about a train track,
Yep.
once you got them on that track, um, that's what's happening in their life. So it's
Yep.
important of what's happened, what we do. And I don't know whether your research has shown that even prior to birth in utero, the
Hmm.
importance of
Yeah.
what goes on in the life of the mother
Yes.
plays a significant role in what maybe, because I personally in the case of my old no my second son, uh,
Hmm.
very very difficult um, marriage, very violent physical abuse during the pregnancy, and what happened with me. I mean, it actually, I think. actually affected our son. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I really think that I'm muting my phone because people sometimes like to call me.
mm,
I think that a lot of the things that happened loud outside. A lot of things that happened during the pregnancy affected him, and he ended up as a labeled was it AD at the time? What were they doing? He's 46, so ADD or AHD, whatever it was that they prescribed Ritalin for. You know, we didn't know. You know,
mhm.
we listened to what was said to us with regard to, and we realized that all it did was drug the child so that the teacher could ignore them.
Yeah.
It didn't help the child, and then it also gave them a way to get extra funds for them being labeled that way. So, but I do think that um, trauma in utero
Oh yeah.
is sometimes affects. I mean, the emotional state of one's mother,
Yep.
and what even what the child hears. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have, yeah. I mean, even what the child hears, very, very. Just want to. I'm going to say this because it's true. I remember having a really bad uh, my last pregnancy was really bad, and my spouse and I were really, really, really on the outs. And I remember in one of those nasty times, him saying, "I hope the baby dies." And
Mm.
who says that? But anyway, it did. He did, and that was my last child, and that was the one that died at 7 weeks, perfectly healthy, and died a crib death. Now I'm
Mm.
not sure, but it always goes back to I hope the baby dies, and I'm thinking, did she say, well, I'm not wanted, or think, you know what I mean? Did she
Yeah.
think stuff? So it's so you know
Mm-hmm.
there's a combination of things. I mean, yes, she had just had her 6 weeks checkup, and may have had the that immunization and so forth, but I remember those words. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I remember those words. And
Yeah.
so sometimes, like I said, we just have to be so careful about what it is we say before, during, after a child is born. And that's
Yeah.
the other thing too. Grant talks about this a lot. When he and I talk about it, the when a child is created, in our culture, you know, sex wasn't just like a frivolous, let's just get it on and knock boots and whatever you want to call it. But children were playing champions. Mothers knew to bring it. They wanted to bring in a champion or someone to do something specific. They looked at the astrological movement and what was going on and circumstances, and they did things to make sure to ensure that the child, if they did conceive, that everything was in perfect harmony, both astrologically, cosmologically, emotionally, and so forth, so that that child will be able to come in and have the foundation that it would need to be that great individual that they should be. But speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about, well, first of all, are you a mother? I mean, I know you are, but even about your own. I'm not. I only know about Maya, so I'm not sure if they were. I never want to know. Want to miss unless there's somebody else who just doesn't have Maya's talents, and so we don't know about them.
Yeah. Maya's my only child. She's my
Okay.
only child. Yes, and she's 22 years old.
Okay.
Um, yeah, she's my only one, and I mean, I'm blessed to have her. She's definitely one of those what they would call old souls,
Yes.
references old souls, but she is definitely a returned ancestor, definitely what they would call a star seed child that
Hmm.
just from the time she was gifted to me, she's been a teacher to me, a teacher. Definitely, she's helped me to um, to remember who I am and to recognize who I am by just being her mother, her caretaker, you know.
I just
And
I
I feel
just posted something. Listen, I just posted something in the chat
uh,
for those who, without saying a lot about Maya. I put in check out Maya Belardo on YouTube because she's. I will say this that Grand Chic. I had the opportunity. I told you this to turn because he likes to listen to different music when he's here, and we just listen to YouTube concerts and so forth. And once he heard Maya, he just let it play one video after another. So those of you who are listening, if you and this is just a little segue, we're just going off for a little bit, but if you love jazz and you love, I would say that's traditional, more of the, is that, what would you call that, the traditional jazz or the
well,
jazz?
it's referenced as jazz standard, like that jazz standard, classic jazz sound. You know, Maya sings a lot of standards. Yeah, she's just that classic jazz standard sound for jazz.
Well, when
Yeah.
I saw the video, I'll be home for Christmas. I know I think there's two, but the one she did when it ends up and she's there, you and Joe and she all have on the plaid pajamas, and it looks like everything was happening to her not to make it, and then it ends up that she's at home, she's there at home all the time. I thought that was so beautiful. So, but
Oh,
anyway, if you all love that jazz standard, please check out Maya Belardo on YouTube, and you're gonna fall in love with her too. She's a sweetheart, and I remember her. I mean, she was like 10, 11 years old, and singing this beautiful jazz, and she's just such a sweetheart. But that's a reflection, I believe, of her upbringing. That you and Joe have always been there. Especially when we all the cultural things that we would do, and Maya would be there, and she'd sing a song, and she's so pleasant, just this beautiful smile on her face. And I was so happy was it 2016? Was it 2016 or 17? Whenever the city gave her, it's the stage at the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival, and I was so happy that
yeah.
they honored someone, homegrown,
Yeah.
and it was
That was
beautiful.
2016 and Maya was 17. She was 17 years old
Okay.
when she was able to do that performance at the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival. But the interesting thing about that is the year before, we were at the Jazz Festival, and we would go to the Jazz Festival every year. But the year before, she was sitting at the festival, and she turned to her dad and I, and she said, "I'm going to do this festival one day."
and
Yeah,
it just, and the
yep,
very next year,
yep,
that's
yep.
awesome. She
Mhm.
deserved it. It was beautiful, and some of those videos are on YouTube. Clips
Yep.
from that are on YouTube too. But listen, trauma. I want to say this. Besides you being with child, like a child care specialist, I'm not sure exactly what your title is, and besides you being, meditating and singing, I'm going to play a little clip, not the whole thing, because I want people to download their own copy. What you do with sound therapy. Now, last, was it Friday?
Yep.
That experience that we're doing yoga now, and I've joined the God Squad. And when you came around, and I thought to myself, gosh, this is so beautiful, but she can't lay down. She's not getting this because you were serving us. You were serving everyone else, and the sounds that you were coming around to each of us with, they were so soothing and so reassuring and so calming. And you didn't even care that you were just laying out there in the grass and the ants were crawling in your ear or something. I mean, it was such an amazing experience to go through that. Now, is that something that you do with clients, or as a part of therapy, or is that just for healing? Or
So let me tell you about my whole sound journey. Right? Well, music has always been a very large part of my life. right? So going back into adolescence all the time, it was music that has always healed me. Music has always healed me throughout my whole entire life. I used to, it's a funny thing that I recall, and my mom used to buy me every year a little jukebox, those portable cassette
Boom,
players,
mhm.
box, the
Boombox.
boxes. I would blow out my boombox every year. My mom had to purchase me a new one every single year because I would blow it out. I was always listening to music and always immersed in sound, always. And fast forward to my adult life, with working with children, I got to a point, especially when I got very heavily into my own meditation practice and mindfulness practice. I started to collect different sounds for children because I was still working with young children. And when I closed my childcare in 2016, I had decided that I wanted to do a traveling program that went out into childcares and did music, movement, and mindfulness. That was my program: music, movement, and mindfulness. And I would go out into places and do that. And really, when I started, I was heavily in the mindfulness side, right? So I would always come up with all these activities, mindfulness activities I wanted to do with the children, but I couldn't get them. I mean, these are young children, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. I couldn't get them to settle down long enough for me to do the mindfulness thing. And then one day, this like light bulb went off where I was like, you know what? Let me bring my drum. Let me bring my djembe. So I brought my djembe to one class and I started to play it. And I played it and the children danced and we sung and for about a good 5 minutes. And then after that, they sat down and they were all ears. They were like, okay, what else you got for us? Everyone was on the same page. And I remember leaving there and I was so amazed at how just this 5 minutes of playing, I was able to then go into my mindfulness activity with the children, and they were all ears, fully engaged, right? So I left and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what is the science behind this, And for me, I thought about how I always played the drum throughout life too. When I was in middle school or junior high school, as they would call it, because I went to school in the Bronx, I had band class and I chose the drum as my instrument. And so I would always choose percussion instruments, So when I realized like, the drum has always been with me like my whole life, really, and here I was, playing it for young children and they were responding to it in such a special way. So I shared that story with an elder, and she said to me, Kyma, there's science behind that. They say that they've done the research, they've like hooked a group of people up to with the sensors and everything. And when they listen to a drum beat, everyone's heartbeat syncs together. There's the science to that. When everyone's hearing a drum beat, all their hearts rhythms sync together, so everyone's on the same accord. That's why the drum is in every single indigenous people all over the continent, have all had a drum, a percussion, a sound like that, and have used it in that way, right? So I used it in that way with young children, and that's really what started my whole journey into sound, because I would introduce more and more as I started working with the children. I would collect more and more and more sounds, and they would always respond so beautifully to the different sounds that I would bring them. And so that's really what sparked. And then I turned that to, what? Children are responding this way. I know adults would respond this way because all of us have an inner child within us. We all have an inner child within us. We all have, a little boy or a little girl within us that that will respond in the same way. So that's what kind of pushed me to start introducing and sharing sound to my community. And really, that's what I used it for, especially during 2020 when, there was so much going on in the outer world around us. I saw the need to share sound with my community, and that's really what I started to do. You know, you're muted, Dr. G.
I keep turning it off because I forgot to close. I forgot to close the window, and I can't. I want to get up and put you on solo so I can close the window. But anyway, yeah, the music, the sound is healing. I know it was healing for me, just listening to it on Friday. But you took a journey. There was a journey that you had taken that has gotten you to the place where you're able to use sound and meditation as healing. And would you care to share? Because if your journey started out with traumatically, and I know we were talking about it's a lot of folks, what look like us, melanated folks, don't acknowledge sometimes the fact that they have been traumatized and may need some type of healing outside of just, I'm okay because, I'm over that because I was a child when that happened, or I was like me, I'm coming to, I'm thinking about trauma, and I've always thought I've never been traumatized or abused. And then I remembered sometimes we forget that I was an 18-year-old married to an abusive man who beat me every chance he got. I mean, literally, who beat me, who beat me when I was pregnant, who cut me, you know what I mean? And I have scars that are to this day that'll never leave me. And how do you forget? I forgot until I, just started thinking about, I was thinking about poor this person and poor that person. And is the fact that I forgot, does that say I wasn't traumatized? Because I certainly was. I mean, I'm talking about going to work on my Job, as we call him, getting there, and he's outside and he's beating me up before I could get into my work. And the people in my work, somebody having to call in and say, you need to come outside and get her. You know what I mean? So, and different things like that. But I forgot about all that stuff. And so when I realized we were dealing with trauma, it came back. And I'm thinking, well, maybe I was just tough. But I think I was traumatized. Is it possible to forget your trauma and then something triggers the fact that, hey, you just buried this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That was definitely my experience, and every time I share my story with others, more and more people share that they had a similar experience. So the interesting thing about trauma and the human brain is that, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Our brain is so amazing. And the brain is always trying to preserve us, like to make sure that we stay here, right?
Before you go further, I should have said this. Please, 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 would you all like and share? Let somebody know that we're on. Please share the link, like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, but please share, because I believe what's going to be discussed. I know we did some lighthearted discussion at the beginning, but I believe what Kyma is going to share with us, and even our conversation, is going to help someone. So please, please, please share that we're on. Let somebody else know so that they can hear. You said we can't hear you. Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, so you're saying they can't hear me. I'm not muted now, so let me make sure
I can hear you.
You can hear me fine? Dr. G, we can't hear you, sister. Okay.
Yeah, see that.
I think y'all hear me because I'm not muted, and I think my mic is still on. But nevertheless, Please share. Let somebody know, because somebody you know may be suffering. And okay, you can hear me. Thank you. Thank you. So please share. Continue.
Okay. So basically, my experience was that I, experienced some severe trauma in childhood that my brain decided was too much for me. So I always describe it as like a computer, your brain being like a computer, right? And certain things that is just too much, it gets filed in a like, let's save this one for later, or let's get back to this one at another time, because right now it's just too much, um and that's the amazing thing that our brains can do, and we can even decide to do that. If there's things that is happening in your life that is too much for you to bear, you can on your own decide that, you know what, I'm going to take this one and put it in the for later file, but sometimes our brains does that for us without us knowing. And that's for people that have experienced severe trauma, that's able to happen, you know so that definitely happened to me. And I didn't remember any of my trauma really until 2018, actually. So I had started my meditation practice. And that's the beautiful thing that starts happening in meditation as well. Meditation is so crucial, because what it does is that it starts to connect those synapses in your brain. It starts to reconnect everything and rewire it the way it's supposed to be. Those things are supposed to happen when you're in that infant to toddler stage that we just talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But when that doesn't happen during that age, you still can have it happen through meditation. So my first experiences with meditation, I was feeling all this brain activity going on, all this rewiring and reconnecting activity going on in my brain. And then a few years later, after being an avid meditator, the memories started to come back to me. They started to come back to me in flashbacks, what they call flashbacks. So you start to have memory recall, where you're able to see different things that happened in the past. And so that's what happened to me. And so what I was recalling was a lot of sexual abuse, incest, a lot of things that that my brain had decided that was way too much for me to remember. So when that happened, I really didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with that. Because here I was, right? When you start meditating, you start to also release like all the serotonin and all those good hormones and things in your brain, and you start feeling really well. I was spending a lot of time out in nature. I was just taking better care of myself. So I was feeling really good. And then here in this space of feeling amazing, then this bomb got dropped on me. That's what it felt like, you know, like all this information got dropped on me, and I didn't fully know what to do with it. So yeah, that is a big part of my journey, and it's I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of people run from their self-care, and they run from doing those types of things. They don't even fully know why. But I think that we run from those things because deep down inside of us, somewhere in our subconscious knows that going in this direction is going to bring back memories and things that you need to take a look at, you know? And a lot of us, what they call disassociate,
Mm-hmm.
right? We disconnect, we disassociate, we do things that keeps us in a state of avoidance of what is unpleasurable. You know, the human beings naturally run to pleasure. Okay, we want to stay in pleasure. We don't voluntarily go into things that's not pleasurable. So a lot of times we want to stay in that pleasure space. But I mean, I did experience a lot of pleasure meditating, you know, at the beginning. But I will say, when I started to remember that, I had said to myself, man, if I had known that going down this road was going to lead me, this is what I had said when I remembered. If I knew that it was going to lead me to this, I wouldn't have done it. Of course, now a few years later, I can say that I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way because all it did was make me have to take a look at those things and transmute that energy and that experience, right? I now have, believe it or not, I now have a gratitude for having those experiences. And I know that that's really, really hard for many to understand. Like, how can you have gratitude for being sexually abused? How can you have gratitude for, you know, having those terrible, terrible experiences? I mean, I was having flashbacks being 8 years old, being dragged by my feet into my father and stepmother's bedroom to be sexually abused. These were things that I was remembering. These are things that I was remembering. But I have come to a space in my life where I can look back at those things and say, like, listen, I just feel that my life is so purposeful. And even being here today and being able to share my story and to let other people know that we are so much more than our human experiences, so much more than our human experiences, that we can look back at these things and still have gratitude, and not just have gratitude, but have forgiveness.
Yeah.
Have forgiveness. Yes.
I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people. But even back when I was a pastor and realized that you never the forgiveness was never for as much for or towards the person that actually was at fault, if you will, for whatever they was done to you or you felt. But the forgiveness had to happen for you, because we are the ones that suffer as a result of unforgiveness. And so it's very, like I said, even those words, I hope that, the baby dies, or even being beat up, and I think some people may find if Dr. G allowed her something, I didn't, I was 18, 19, 20, those 3 years or 2 years, I was young. And I realized, but I realized I had married someone who had a very beautiful facade, or a very handsome facade, but was really messed up, which is like a lot of folks. And later on, working as I was as a housing director, we had a facade program, and facade program, for the city, we would look at a block and like we're trying to do something in this block, but there's like 2 or 3 crappy houses in the block. So what you do is you offer them facade money to fix the outside, so that it doesn't affect everything else around it. And so many, it might be falling down with holes everywhere on the inside, but we're not crossing the threshold. We're giving it a fresh coat of paint, and we're going to fix the steps, and we're going to put the door on so it sits straight and all that. But inside is messed up. And that's how a lot of people are, facades, just, a cover story, but inside not wanting to deal with, for one reason or another, the reality that, they toe up from the flow up, and they need help, And the first part about it, I think the first step in it, and you can, correct me if I'm wrong, is admitting or realizing that you need help.
Yeah. Well, ignorance is bliss, right? That's what they say. That's what they say. Ignorance is bliss. And I will say that there's some truth to that, you know. Um, but I actually had someone say to me when I remembered what happened and I was going through that situation, she said to me, um, don't you think it's better to not know? Isn't it better to not know? You know? And I said to her, I wasn't conscious of knowing, but my body always remembered. So I was suffering from physical things in my body, high blood pressure, fibroids, different things in my body that didn't make sense to me, but it made sense after I remembered what happened to me. So there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and the body never forgets, you know. So even though we're not conscious of what may have happened, our body always remembers. So that's why a lot of people have panic attacks and anxiety and chronic depression and all these things, PTSD, all these things. They don't remember, they don't know exactly what happened, but the body always remembers. So yeah, I think it's a thing of you know, realizing that you might have experienced some things that you're not conscious of, and if you open yourself up, you know, to really getting curious about what exactly is going on with me. Why do I feel this way? Why do I always feel depressed? Why am I having these panic attacks? Why is my body responding in this way? There's a book, when we were talking earlier, I thought of this book. It's called The Metaphysical Anatomy. The body is always listening. Um, that book was very instrumental too in my early experience with my healing, because I was able to go in that, I was able to open it up and say, okay, I'm experiencing high blood pressure. Let me look up high blood pressure in that book. Oh, wow. In these pages I can see it'll ask you questions like, was your mother experiencing this? Was your father experiencing this? Was your grandmother experiencing this? Was you, like, it'll go through all these things that you will never think about. You will never think about. But again, our body keeps the score. Our body always remembers, even when we don't remember. So it's a very powerful book. And like I said, it was very instrumental in me starting to recognize what exactly was going on with my body and with me, you know. I'm
Was
gonna
there? I was going to ask you if there was ever any. You know, sometimes when people have been abused, women have been abused, there's sometimes, you know, a tendency, even though they get married, they may have issues with relationships and not sure why there's issues or anything like that ever. I mean, did you feel like something was wrong, or it wasn't until the trigger of, through meditation, that it came back? I mean, can you look back and say, oh, maybe that's why I was like that, because my body was, oh, you know, always remembered what was.
Yeah, well, for me, and I'm glad you asked that, because there are some women that are experiencing things like, you know, um, not being able to have orgasms, and you know, vaginal dryness, and endometriosis, and all types of things, right? For me, I didn't experience those things in most of my life, but towards as I started getting older, and leading up to when I did remember, um, I didn't I had a very low libido, had very low libido. And I also, actually, now that I think about it, I was not able to have another child after Maya, after my daughter. I had tried for many years to have a child with my husband and was not able to. was not able to. So I always say that Maya chose me as as her mother because I was never able to get pregnant again, you know. And now I know that all of those things stem from all of the things that I experienced in my childhood.
Now, may I ask, the trauma that you experienced, um, was it at the hands of of a family member or family members, or I mean,
Oh
and
yeah,
were
yes.
and
There
were
was, go ahead.
and were you in your remembering? Um, did you feel a need to have any? I don't want to. Well, confront or because that's always, sometimes people feel that the only way they can get past something is to say, "I know what you did," you know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, most of my sexual abuse was incest, was with family members. That abuse that I remembered in 2018, like I said, involved my father and my stepmother. And so
Both of them. Both of them.
both of them, yes, yes. And so, and it's not something that I have shared. You know, many people don't know of, that part of my story. You know, it's something that I I always struggle with sharing because I feel like people have this thing where we like to compare trauma. We like to we
Mhm.
like to compare trauma. And I'm just like, I'm not here to say that my trauma is any worse than your trauma and that or to belittle your trauma. We all have traumatic experiences that we're all working through, right? But yeah, my trauma did involve family members. And when I did start to remember that my father was alive, um, and I think maybe a year or so, a year and a half after remembering, I called my father on my birthday, on my solar return, and I said to him, I forgive you. And I didn't really at the time. I didn't really, but I felt it necessary to say those words, even when it wasn't fully grounded in my body. I knew that I wanted to get to that place,
Mhm.
but I wasn't at that place. And so I said that to him because actually my father had suffered from mental illness for a lot of people don't know this, but my father actually had a PhD in agriculture. He's a very brilliant man, but he suffered from mental illness. And so he, the last 20 plus years of his life was not working. He was essentially living like a homeless person in on the island of St. Croix. And so he would just like kind of wander the streets and just, and so I did get a hold of him and I told him that. And I think maybe a year later, he passed away. He
Mhm.
had passed away. So I remember when I did say that to him, he said to me, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? And I said I was actually in a public place, so I couldn't go into detail about why I was saying it to him. But I said, I just want you to know that I forgive you and I want you to live your life. I want you to move forward and live your life. And so he he didn't understand it. I found out from some other people that he was like, yeah, Kima called me and she was saying she forgives me, but I don't know what she's talking about. And how can I make amends if I don't know what she's forgiving me for? But that was more for me than it was for him,
For him, yeah.
and so when he did transition, I had made a decision not to go to his funeral. And there were some people in my family that didn't like that I had made that choice. But I felt like, by me saying those words, and at the time when he did pass away, I actually felt the forgiveness more in my heart. I didn't need to go to his funeral. I had made amends
And
with
peace.
and
Yeah.
peace with him. Yes. Yeah.
What about your stepmother? I mean, do you think that she was an influence in what happened to you, or was she just a willing participant?
I honestly don't know. And I try not to I try not to think too much about what their thought process was or what their issues were with why they would want to do that to such a young child. Because when I do, that would always put me in a place of anger, rage, lots of emotions. And so, what I try to focus on more about is my journey, you know, and putting things in context of like where my life has led me through that experience. You know, I feel that I rather put my energy on that than put it into trying to figure out
The
what
why and
the
what?
why, because I can never there's no good reason to abuse a young child. There will never be a reason. So even me saying that my father suffered from some mental illness, that's still not a reason. There's many people that suffer from mental illness that never touches a young child, especially no less their child, their own flesh and blood. So there's never an excuse or an explanation.
Mhm.
um but yeah, it's just about where you want to focus your energy. I choose to focus my energy on where my life has led me from that experience.
Yeah, and it's led you, I would say to a very, um, I was first of all, I would say it's a wonderful place that you are, and and simply because I get I have the honor of being in your company at least twice a week now, and so I know. And someone said in the chat about the light or the around you or your aura. Somebody else talked about your voice is soothing. Everything about you seems to you have become an instrument of healing, and I can imagine the children that were in your care had to have wonderful experiences, and that you assisted the parents in laying a foundation that a lot of children don't get. Excuse me, because a lot of people do it for the money or whatever, but when you do it because you have a love for, as you said, something your body knew, and your subconscious mind knew about abuse. So it's probably the reason why you've always given such so tender care to little ones. You wanted to be a protector because you yourself were not protected at a time when you were vulnerable.
Yes, exactly. That is, and I came to discover that later in life. I chose that field. Well, that field chose me. Um, and I didn't know exactly all the reasons why I wanted to care for young children. But after I was able to really get to know myself, know thyself, right, more, I started to understand, like, oh, that's why I work with young children, because I know what it means to um, be this vulnerable child that is open to, or um, just in a vulnerable space to whoever the adults are around them. So I always wanted to create a loving and nurturing space for young children, that they felt good in my home, And, my husband was in the house with me. So, and I always told him it was important for them to see a husband and wife working together, caring for them. My husband cooked all the meals for the children. He helped me in the home all the time with the children. And so they got to see that. They got to see what a family that looks like us,
Mm-hmm.
was able to do, and then even with Maya, she would come home, she would help with snacks, she would sit with them, she would read with them. The childcare was in my home from when Maya was 8 to 18, you
Okay.
know. So she grew up having the childcare in her home and coming in and being a part of that. So even though she was an only child, she was a big sister to many children, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah.
And that's so beautiful. I was thinking, because I've been looking at a lot of things. I know there's a lot of things you can't say these days because there's so much, censorship around. But there was a lot of things coming out over the last year or so about, the abuse of children and so forth for other reasons. And um, it seems like we see that, or we hear of it happening more in of the other cultures than, other than ours, although I know it's, we're not immune from it, but it seems like in some of those higher echelons it's done, um, as a part of controlling the child at an early age. Then they end up, what would you call the disassociation. They're able to split off into multiple personalities. This one can deal with that, and this one is sitting
Yeah.
on the sideline going, we can take it, and the other one is saying, so, but you hear a lot about that in I'm calling them other cultures outside of us. From a standpoint of when you remembered, did you seek out, therapy or counseling, or did you just continue meditating and focus on the healing?
So I did seek out counseling. I did go to a counselor, and I went specifically to a counselor, to a therapist that specialized in sexual abuse. Because I, again, we're talking about um, mental mental wellness. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think it's important for people who are spiritualists to understand that mental wellness and spiritual wellness are two totally different things. So I went and sought out mental support because I was experiencing um, things with my brain, my mind, my brain now showing me information that it kept from me for so many years. And so this was new territory. This was new territory. And so I went out and sought that. And I know, for our people, that's something that we're not comfortable doing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we're not comfortable going and talking to someone. And I even remember sitting across from my therapist, my very first session, and she's saying to me, Kyma, you have such a strong self-care practice. You're meditating, you're journaling, you're doing all these things. What do you need me? What do you need me for? You know, because essentially when someone comes into the office, these are things that they kind of help them to develop so that they can start to have those tools to work through all the things that's happening mentally. But I remember looking at her and saying, I don't know who I am without my anger. That was what I said to her, because deep down inside I had this rage and this anger for all that had occurred to me, for me. And I say for me, I don't say to me anymore, because words are power. I don't feel that anything happened to me. I think it happened for me. So these things happened for me. And I didn't know who I was without this rage and anger that was always in the background, of my life. So yeah, I needed to come and sit. I needed to come and sit once a week and talk through that and talk through that.
And how long did you do it?
I did it and I'm actually still seeing someone here and there. I don't go every week like I used to, but it's been a little over 2 years now. Mm-hmm.
And so therapy in the sense of going for that type of counseling helps. Is it basically more or less you working it out with the in the presence of someone who can help you through the process that you have to do yourself anyway?
Yes, it is. It is. It holds you more accountable to doing that work. Because again, remember I said earlier, as human beings, we're always running from things that's not pleasurable, right?
Right.
So when you get in that hot seat and you start unearthing things inside of you that feels uncomfortable and you don't want to talk about, it's easy for you to go in and to avoid it altogether. But when you have a place that you have to go to once a week or however, many times a week or how often, where you have to go and address what's going on internally, it's just an accountability thing, because really, um, we all have a healer inside of us. We all came here with every single thing that we could possibly need to have this human experience. So everything we need is already inside of us. We are having this experience with others because others allow us to be held accountable, to work through things, to practice, together.
Do you think that therapy, particularly with somebody say of your status and stature, brings more of more authenticity to one's life? And I say this because I'm even thinking I'm thinking even of myself. I said some things today, and I've said some things on other occasions, but sometimes people hold us at a certain place, and they don't think we've ever been through anything, and they think that their particular life is we put people in a place of worshiping them because we want to be like them, but we don't know the story behind the glory, so to speak, that they may be showing glory now, but we don't know. So when you're honest and laying it all bare out there, do you think it helps with one's authenticity? Because a lot of times I think there are a lot, like I said, there are a lot of people with a very good facade, and after, it's almost like after when you finish this, like when I finish this, I can go, now I can just be me. No, we want to be, we need to be ourselves 24/7.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we are afraid to let others know that we've not always been where they think we are, and we're not always there where we think they think we are. I think people today need to see that level of authenticity and can still respect a person. And no, I don't think it knocks down your street cred or anything, because you admit that yeah, I've been in a fire, you just can't smell the smoke, or you just don't see the damage. But there's been something has happened to this vessel. This mind has not always been where it is. I mean, I forget or put it behind me because a lot of things, like you said, for whatever reason. And then when you're having a conversation, you're going, damn, I forgot that I spent 30 days in a mental institution, or I forgot that this happened, or that I took various things, but you remember and you go, now am I just hiding it, or am I healed from it? Or did I get healed from it so I felt like I didn't need to deal with it anymore? But and that's as an adult. But as a child, I think that's a totally different story.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's more about vulnerability than it is about authenticity.
Okay.
You know, it's our willingness to, or our ability to be vulnerable. You know, we put on these facades because we don't want to be vulnerable. We feel that vulnerability is weakness, but it's actually the greatest strength is to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone has their armor. Everyone is suited up. So if everyone is suited up, that's not where the real strength comes in. The real strength is that ability to be vulnerable, to put down the armor, and to be like, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
This is me. That's real courage. That's real courage. And, you know, early on in my spiritual practice, I used to, you know, pull cards, pull tarot cards, you know, do divination, which has always been a part of our culture, is
Right.
to divine in some way. And
I
so
use
I
the
would,
pendulum a lot.
yeah. And so I would divine. And when I would divine, it would always talk about courage, courage, courage. You need courage, 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 courage. I'd be like, what's this courage? What's this courage is it talking about? You know?
Mm-hmm.
But it was showing me that my you know, a lot of times when we divine, you know, time doesn't exist, so we don't know what we're divining on. Well,
Right.
what we're divining, it could be talking about the past, it could be talking about, actually it could be talking about the past, present, future,
All in one. Yeah.
all in one. So I did have immense courage. I had immense courage as a child being abused. You know, my abusers, you know, when that memory that I shared of them dragging me by my feet, I was fighting. I was fighting. They had to drag me. They had to drag me. Imagine being 8 years old with these two adults. You know, I wasn't afraid to fight. I was like, no, if you're going to take me in your bedroom, you're going to drag me to your bedroom. Okay. And so when I look back at that now, I could be like, that's strength. That's strength. I didn't willingly go into their room. That's strength. I could look back at that with like, yeah, that took immense courage. And it takes immense courage to be in a space like this to share what my experience was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I
Um,
appreciate that. We appreciate that.
but it really comes down to being willing to be vulnerable. My vulnerability is not weakness. Like I said, it's the most immense courage, you know, because I'm not sitting here afraid of being judged.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I know what my experience has been on this earthly plane, but I also know what my experience has been in the heavens. And therefore, I don't need to be concerned with what other people do with that information. You could do with that information whatever it is that makes you feel good, but it has nothing to do with me.
I
It has
like that.
nothing to do with me because I know that a divine presence have always been over my life. And so that is who I'm concerned with.
And that's enough. That's enough. But I like that. You know, like you said, what your opinion of me has nothing to do with me. It's yours. It won't change me, and it won't, you know, it won't take me up, down, you know, sideways. It's just the way you process this information. But I believe that there are, you know, there are those that will see this if they're not, you know, seeing it right now in the live, when they see it in the replay, and it's going to help someone. It's going to help someone get to a place of acceptance of what has happened to them, and a forgiveness, and an ability to move forward, if you will, into what is, why did, first of all, I signed up for this. And that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of people can't wrap their heads around sometimes. What do you mean? And you actually hear people say that, I didn't sign up for this. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You
Yeah.
did sign up for this. You forgot. That's why we're reawakening and remembering. But you did sign up for it in the realm of the spirit. You agreed. You picked the parents. You picked
Exactly.
the circumstances and so forth. And then your question is, okay, to learn what? Because this is school. This is
Mhm.
university. This is
Yeah.
the tough school. This is the prison planet, the toughest school of hard knocks. So you pick this place to come and learn these lessons, but why? And perhaps, when we look back, or if we look through the Akashic realm, we find out that, ooh, okay, I had to do it this way because in that other lifetime, I was an abuser, so I needed to balance the scales out.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I don't. It's so much deeper. It's there's so much more information to what we may just want to wrap our pretty little minds around. I see in the comments that someone said, own parents, that's sad. I don't think it's sad, because as you just said, Dr. G, like, I chose my parents. I chose to come here and have that experience. And my parents have to do their work on their karma in, when they transition. And actually both of my parents are on the other side, which is very interesting. I'm in my 40s and both of my parents have already transitioned to the other side. And so my relationship with them continues, and it continues in a deeper and purposeful way. Purposeful way, you know. Um, so yeah, it's so much to this. It's so much to this, y'all. Like, it's so much. That's why, like I said, I don't always share so much about my story, because I don't like people getting stuck in the story, that they don't move past, you know, all the deliciousness that is me. You know what I mean?
And you are, you're delicious. And as my friend Latanya says, she calls it juicy. We have to, we have to learn how to be more juicy. And you just have such an like was said in the chat, an aura about you, and a warmth and a love. I mean, this is genuine. This is you all the time. You know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure pretty sure right now that you're in such a blissful state because you're in Sedona, Arizona, where a lot of us would love to be. and and so, all of that, energy and the vortexes and so forth that are there. And you spent first day, did you go to Bell Rock? Or you're not far from Bell Rock?
Nope, I'm like right in the thick of the vortexes. Like, they're all around. My experience with Sedona has been very, very it's put me in a space of gratitude, which is where I like to sit. I like to sit in the space of gratitude. When I was sitting out in one of the parks today, I was just thinking, like, my family is from the islands. My mom was born in St. Kitts. My father's family is from St. Lucia. I'm pretty sure that I am probably the first, or of a very short list, if there's any other, that has been in this space, that have come to this area of the planet, and to sit in that space of gratitude, and knowing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, was just a humbling experience. Um, Yeah, and that's where I like to be.
Well, I like the fact that you've been able to come out of it. You know what I mean? And I think the message to anyone listening is that we can get over and get out of anything we desire to, for whatever reason. There's some discussion in the chat, but for whatever reason the experience came, whether it was karmic on one person's part or the other. The fact of the matter is that we can make a choice. We make choices even after the fact when we realize that we can. Because a lot of times people have had the choices or the fact that you can make changes taken away from them. They don't see that as an option, I guess is what I'm going to say. And it
Yeah.
is an option. And so your meditation, I'm going to go all the way back to when you were talking about the children and you were teaching the children mindfulness. And I know a lot of adults, including myself, who would love to get into a space of mindfulness. But is it easier to work with the children, the babies, with that than it is for adults? Or
I used to say that. I used to say that. I used to say, no, I can't. I don't fool with adults. I fool. I rather work with young children. I used to say that. I don't say that anymore because, like I shared with you, I know that we all have an inner child within us. So, and I love people. It took me a long time to realize that too. There's a lot of people that walk around saying that they're introverted and they're really not. I was an introvert when I was working through my trauma. When I was working through my trauma, I thought that I was an introvert. But I am not an introvert. I am neither an introvert or an extrovert. I love people, but I also know when I need to be alone and when I need my me time, right? So that's ultimately where we want to be, is in that middle, in that balance of, being in a balanced state. So I don't feel that way anymore. I feel my work in the community has expanded and it's expanded past just working with children. It's working with the community as a whole. As a whole.
what would you say for someone who might be interested in getting into meditation as a practice? I know your journey began with 5 minutes a day. I mean, when you were doing the 5 minutes a day, were you playing meditation music, or were you listening to a video, or were you just sitting quietly, in a space for 5 minutes, or what? Because I noticed you said that you would come out of meditation and you'd be inspired to write songs and poetry.
Yeah. Well, when I first started attempting to meditate, I wasn't what I thought. I wasn't having great experiences. I was like, I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. I can't turn off all of these thoughts in my head. Like, I just can't get it to stop. And again, as a young person that experienced what I experienced, being able to go into my mind was my saving grace, as they would call it. So a lot of times people with severe trauma, they have great imaginations because that's where they go to escape. So at any given time when I was a child, I was traveling the cosmos. I was on, I was anywhere in the galaxy. Okay. And so I didn't realize that really what I was doing was I was tapping into that part of my brain that would later help me in my adult life to advance like super speed into meditation because my imagination was already there. So when I first started, it was hard for me to shut off the thinking. But I just read about meditation. I listened to things. I investigated. I got curious about it. Like, what is this about? And I came across certain things that was saying, no, you don't have to shut off the thoughts. You just have to not entertain them. So that's what I tell people. You don't have to shut off your thoughts. You have to not entertain them. So
Okay.
when they come in, you just let them flow out. You don't entertain them. Okay. So that's what I started to do. And for me, focusing on my breath was where I started. So when I sat for my 5 minutes, I focused on just breathing in for however many counts, 4 counts, breathing out for 4 counts, breathing in for 4 counts, and out for 4 counts. And I did that for 5 minutes, you know. And then when I turned around, I was like, wow, 5 minutes went by, and all I did was count my breaths, you know. And then that kind of evolved into um, being able to activate, you know, this third eye chakra and be able to start traveling and seeing all types of things. Again, my imagination, that part of my mind was already so highly active. All I needed to do was be in silence for a little bit to you know, to travel, to go where I needed to go. So I tell people there's so many different types of meditation. So don't, you know, give up so easily. You know, like really try to find out what's going to work for you, because you know, we all are unique. We're all different. And you know, what works for me may not work for you.
There's a question in the chat from to you from Royalty Weldon Jeffrey L. Kyma, are you a generator manifester being?
I am a, what's it called? Yes, I am a manifestor generator. Yes, I am. Yep.
Yeah, I had a reading. I'm a blueprint originator.
Oh, wow. I don't even know what that is, but it sounds magical.
Apparently, I've been here a long time. I was part of a plan and come back to see how it's going to work out.
Okay. Yes, I'm a manifesting generator. That's what I am, manifesting generator.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you have. Well, I wanted to share. You wrote. You released in last year. A. I love this song. I love myself. It's a meditation, and trying to figure out how I could play just a little bit of it because I really, with your permission. And I think it's I'm thinking at the same time that I'm trying to say what I want to ask you, because I wanted to ask you if you could give us an example of like a meditation. I know when I was doing meditation, you know, I'd use music and then my voice. You have a beautiful voice, so but I'm not sure if you're prepared because I know you're not at home, so you may not be able to do that. But I would love to play a little bit of "I Love Myself." And before I play it, though, I would like to know how did that particular piece come about?
So I love myself. I actually, again, a lot of my, what they would call mantra music or affirmation music, kind of spawned from me being in meditation myself. So I found the original recording of this I did in 2017. I had came out of a beautiful meditation, and I picked up my phone, which I normally do, and I started to sing this affirmation of "I love myself," and I carried it with me. I would sing it to myself. I would say it to myself over and over for months, and then I started to share it with other people. But I think the most impacting was me singing it and sharing it with my daughter, Maya, and then one day me hearing her while she was cleaning, singing it. You know, it's like when you see those types of things, you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like she heard this and now she's singing it, you know. And I shared it with a few friends and they would tell me like, Kyma, I was hearing that in my head all day. And they would keep saying to me like, you need to record these. You need to record these things that you're doing. But again, it wasn't until last year, 2020, when I finally sat down and I was, well, you know, we all had more time to sit down, right?
Mhm.
I was like, you know, I really need to do this. I need to really get in the studio and make this happen, you know. So I called up a sister friend of mine and asked her to be. She's an artist. She's a performer. She's someone who has done this. You know, you need to know who you should be talking to, right? Go to people who's already been and done where what you want to do.
Right.
So I reached out to her and I was like, listen, I have these things. I didn't even know what to call them at the time. I have these things I keep singing, and I think I should record them. And so every Wednesday, her and I would get on the phone, and she would kind of coach me through that whole process. And then we went in. Her husband is a producer, um, and he produced this track for me. Him and I got in the studio, and actually the night that we recorded this, him, his wife, their twin children, all three children was in the studio. Maya was in the studio, and the whole family was in the studio, which was beautiful. You know, she had called me and she was like, I don't know if I could come to the studio. I have all the kids. I'm like, no, bring the children, because the children is who I am, right? It's fitting that they all were in the studio when I recorded this. So I purposefully made this track 5 minutes because that's what I started with, my 5 minutes for meditation. And I wanted people to just fall into the music, just fall into it. You know, I think that's the beautiful thing that music does. It transcends us. It brings us into spaces and like cradle us there, you know, hold us there. So I wanted to make this so that people can sit in that space and then turn around and be like, wow, that for 5 minutes, all I thought about was I love myself.
Yes. Excuse me. I actually love. Whew, a little tickle in my throat. Excuse me, y'all. Sometimes it feels like somebody put a feather in the back of your throat. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I can make it stop because there's a link at the on the PayPal on YouTube and Facebook at the bottom where you can actually download or purchase this particular affirmation, and we want to support our sister. So let me.
Can you get it, or you want me to just sing?
Oh, I have it right here.
Okay.
Did you want to sing it? I have it right here.
I was gonna sing some of it if you needed me to.
I do have it.
Okay.
Because we've got the music and everything
Okay.
on here, so I just want to make sure. Okay, y'all. Let me. I want to share this. My throat. I'm gonna put myself on. I can't even put myself on mute because if I put myself on mute, you won't be able to hear the song. But here we go. This is "I Love Myself" by our sister Kyma. Let me know if you can hear it. I love myself. There's only one me. A perfectly unique expression of
myself. There's only one me, a perfectly unique expression of love. I love myself so much. I love myself so much. I love myself. There's only one me, a perfectly unique expression of love. I love myself. There's only one me, perfectly unique expression of love. Love is me. Love is me. Love is me. Love is Many of us were not taught how to love ourselves. In fact, most of the time, the people responsible for caring for us create the illusion that we are unlovable. Choose in this moment to always love yourself first, and your whole life will change in an instant.
I wanted to stop right there. I wanted to keep on going, but you can get. Let me see. I want to see how do we contact Kyma? The divine has answered a prayer this night here in Albany. This is beautiful. At the there is actually I didn't put your email there, Kyma. I have your link. Your IG is there, right? Your Instagram.
Yes, but this song, I Love Myself, is available. It's streaming everywhere. You can find I Love Myself on Apple Music, on Tidal, on SoundCloud, on, everywhere you stream music, it's on. So just look up Kyma, Kyma. I Love Myself, and take a listen. Take a listen. Yeah.
I love that song. I mean, it's just, I didn't know how much I didn't love myself until I heard your song, reminding me to love myself. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I didn't play it all, but I played enough. I went, when they get, but please do. If somebody wants to contact you, if they need to contact you, say for consultation or anything like that, is it best to contact you on IG or your
yeah, I would say definitely
email, or do you want to, because I didn't put your email out there. Sometimes people, you could get inundated, especially from this channel. We love you guys. I mean, one thing about this group, the crew here, they respond when they like something, or they appreciate what they will seek you out, for more. And I think, knowing that you have this experience with meditation and affirmations and the sound therapy and so forth, and just the fact that you're an overcomer, you've come over that, and now you're on the other side of that and helping others to come into the fullness of who they are. Folks, we always want to connect with people like that. Let's see. Make a you. El Banjo says make a YouTube video for that. So that would be so inspiring to those in need of this.
The
Wow.
song it's also on YouTube as well. It's on YouTube as well. But I just want to say something to something you said just now of being an overcomer, because every single day I don't see myself as an overcomer, because every single day I have to choose me. I have to choose me every single day, so that I don't choose to identify with my past experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I have to choose that every single day. And sometimes, because of the complexity of our minds, I could be living through the experience of my past and not my present. And that's why mindfulness is so important, because it's being aware of, in the present moment, of what you're choosing, right? So that's something that I have to do every single day. Every single day. If someone comes to you and tell you that they have totally transcended every single painful thing that happened to them, they're on the other side and all is bliss and all is joy 24/7, I will tell you to run the other way, because that's not someone that I would want to be around, really, because I really think our whole human experience and the reason why we're here is to every day wake up and choose ourselves, you know. And as you continue to do that, more and more layers of you get revealed, and more things come up that you have to take a look at and love on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean that. I think that though that's something I can listen to that every day, just every day.
Please do.
I,
Please do.
I absolutely, absolutely. Um, and I want you. I'm hoping. You said you're doing an EP. Is that just the EP with that, or are you putting um, other meditations or affirmations on the EP, or some of your poems? Could you share one of your poems with us?
You know what? I am not a person. You know what?
You like me? I don't remember my poems. I have to
No,
read them.
I really don't. I really don't. And I don't want to leave the frame. I think I do have one of my journals nearby that may have some of my poetry in it. But yeah, I don't memorize my poems, and though these things just kind of flow from me organically. And again, I didn't set out thinking that I was going to be, do this work, but it's led me here. So my EP is going to have more affirmation music, more mantra music, like how this song was. It'll have about 5 or 6 recordings that is all affirmation music like this. And the thing I love about this music is, again, I'm always thinking about the children. So when you're playing this, I hope that you have a little one that's in the background soaking this up, that's listening. We need our children listening to more positive music, because the music that's out there right now is absolutely ridiculous, crazy, crazy. So I love when I, have people in my community that tell me, like, Kyma, I listen to this and my daughter or my son loves this song, that brings me joy, because I had to spend my whole life getting to this point of remembering that I come first, and to love myself. So I think it's a gift for children to have that mantra in particular, I love myself, in their subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I also posted again for them too. check out Maya, especially though, like she is what, 20,
22.
22, and how long has she been singing that what do you call it, jazz standard?
Well, she's been singing jazz, I think, since she was about, I want to say 10 or 12.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah, but
probably around the time when I first heard her.
yeah, she's been singing. She's been singing since she was like 2 years old. Like even as a baby, like we would push her in the stroller, and she would be, you know, doing the because she realized that her voice would change as she went over bumps, and you know, she would harmonize with like car alarms and the vacuum cleaner and
But
things like that. So
she sings so effortlessly.
mhm.
She's like a little angel. She does, she's smiling like the whole time, and it doesn't look like she's making any effort. But this beautiful melodious tunes are coming out of this young lady, and you're like, what era is she from? you know.
She is definitely surrounded by the jazz ancestors. They're very heavily around her. They come and they listen. They love her. They love her, and they're definitely all around her. Um, yeah, and for me, I feel like, the ancestors of my own lineage, my grandmothers and aunties, and you know um I like to say that I am a mermaid. Actually, that song in particular, when you listen to it,
Yeah, the water.
yes, yes. So I feel like that was the energy that was in around me. Actually, my name Kyma is a Greek word for ocean wave.
Oh.
So I actually have a lot of water energy. Um, and that's what comes out when I sing, so um, they tell us all the things that are real, they called fairy tales and make believe.
You're right.
Um,
You're right. You're right. But we know that there are those that live under the sea, in the middle of the earth, center of the earth, and
yeah,
out in, throughout the galaxy, and we're not the, greatest thing since sliced bread. um I was telling Grand Chic today, we were talking about it's funny you say that. I was talking about what were we talking about? We talk about so much, but from a standpoint of the microcosm versus the macrocosm, and how we're considered chattel. Like chattel is like a word like for cattle or property. And I said, yeah. And I said, and meanwhile, back at the ant farm, in other words, he said, as above, so below. I said, yeah, we are the cattle above, and they're the ants below, but there's really no different. It's like macrocosm, microcosm. So when you the further down you go, it's doing the same thing. We're
yeah,
you know we're stepping on ants, they're stepping on us.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And when
yeah.
you begin to see it like that, it gets more big picturish. And funny thing, I just a sidebar, up popped on YouTube the other day, and Greshik and I were watching. He was working here, doing some work for me, and we were watching. Up pops the Truman Show, and then right behind the Truman Show comes The Mask, and I really took that for a message of the day. Because here you go, everybody's you're being watched. Your life is not real. It's a production, and somebody's wearing a mask. I'm not going to say who, but anywho, they start putting these things out as subliminal messages, and for those who are, awakened at a higher level, you begin to see the subliminal messages that are being given. But that's a part of expanding in who you are, and I'm pretty sure. I want you to bring, I know you're going to get some of that major vortex. I've heard of people going there, and the vortexes there, the vortices as they call them, the experiences that they have in those vortices are so amazing that when they come back, they're a different person. So I'm just telling you, bring me a little bell rock and Gee, I want you to lay hands on the sister and say, here, I brought this back for you. You know what I mean? Because there's much work to be done. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh
There's
yeah.
much work that we have to do, and helping, our people get to the place where they love themselves. If you just love yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else does or has or whatever. Loving yourself is I think it's key. It's
Yeah.
paramount.
Yeah. Well, and for me, I feel like, I feel like, again, we have these experiences in our lives, um, to kind of show us who we are, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like I am a an example, a walking example of sensuality, sexuality, love, and that's something that was suppressed from me for so long because of my experience. But going today and sitting on one of the juniper trees with all that vortex energy, I came out of the off the rock, walked out of the rocks today, just like fully embracing myself and all of my deliciousness, as I said. And, really, really, the thought that came to me was, no, they don't have to know my experiences. You know, I know from where I came, and so I know how important it is to be in a space where I'm allowing myself to fully feel who I am, and to just allow it to express itself, allow it to express itself in whatever that feels. So it's like people may see me and they're like, why is she doing this, or why does she want to do this? Because I want to.
I like that.
Because I want to, because the entity that is me wants to express itself in this way. And you don't have to understand it, overstand it. You don't have to have, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's how this entity that is me wants to express. And so I just walked out of there just like, so, people were like, talking to me out their car windows, like, hey, how you doing? How's your day going? It's like when you're on that frequency, on that vibe, it's like people want to talk to you, and they want to experience you as well.
Right.
And that's the thing, like I no longer am in this space of hiding myself, being afraid that someone wants to experience me. There's a lot of me to share, and I'm in a space where I want to share it. I want to share me, and I'm in a space of knowing that I love myself so much that I know when there's times and that I need to take care of me, and not share me in that moment. And then there's times when I come back again. I'm water, so I'll flow in and flow out, flow in and flow out, always bringing new information, always bringing more love, always bringing more vibe. But when I pull out, that's me time, you know? So I think that's something important for people to take when they go on this self-love, self-care journey of setting your boundaries, knowing, to me, that's the most self-loving thing that you can do, is to have strong, solid boundaries for yourself with other people.
I agree. I agree. I have to do that a little bit. I've been doing it a little bit more. Just simple thing is having my phone go off at a certain time and not come back on until a certain time, so that I don't have to, talk when I should be resting or working on something that I need to work on. And
Yeah.
I've been in the past just, every phone call, every phone call. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have no time for me. And if you're not good for yourself, you're not good for anybody else.
No.
That's one thing I have found. So very, very wise wisdom words that you've just shared. And I hope others will take your, your wise counsel with regard to that. It's
So
important.
someone just asked what my birth sign is. My sun sign is Taurus. My moon sign is Pisces, and my rising is Leo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Got some beautiful aspects going there.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting aspects, and So I know your sun sign is Pisces, and so my moon sign is Pisces.
Yeah, my moon is Capricorn and my
Okay.
rising is Sagittarius.
Oh, so that's very interesting.
I know.
Very interesting.
I
That
know.
makes sense, though. That makes sense. This birds of a feather.
Yes, 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 yes. Listen, you all. I'm still trying to get my new channel up and running because I really want to go like really metaphysical on this new channel. I'm the last time I checked, I needed 400 and I think 30 or 70 more for 1,000, which I don't think is bad given I haven't put one thing up there yet. I thought about doing a little video and popping it up there, but I appreciate each and every one of you who has already subscribed to my new channel, Dr. G is Official. Want to do some different stuff over there, and I'm hoping I can get this on the running in regular by next month. Hopefully, it depends on 400 and some odd people becoming subscribing to the channel. So, wow, we have like 8 minutes. Let me see if there's some comments here. So let me see if there are any wow questions for you. All right. Okay, here's a question from Sade Renee. How long have you been growing your locks? They look really healthy.
I think it's been about 6 years now for me. 6 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see what any other questions. Walk around, raising by means of listening to. Okay, let me see. Earth is a class of 100,000 ways to disconnect from thyself. Let me see. I taught children for over 20 years and used voice. Yes, Roldie Welton. She's another artist. What's your guest verse? Okay, you got that. I'm just looking to see if there are any more questions. Thank you for all of you who have subscribed and all of you who you're welcome. I'll ask questions when I catch them. I do. Yeah, we have just a few more minutes. I don't know, because you are in Sedona, and I just appreciate. I would have said, dear, I would love to be on your show, but I'm going to Sedona. I want to experience every second of every minute of it. But you were kind enough to come on and take time off of your retreat to do this, and I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. May the Most High, give you abundantly overflowing, energetic, peace, prosperity, love, and downloads while you're there for your kindness and coming on the show.
I told you the Most High has already been blessing me so much. And I definitely had to do this because one, I honor you as being an elder in my community who has been doing great work, who has, have a place where our people can come to and feel safe and feel nurtured and feel loved and be informed, and to help them remember who they are. So all of your work throughout the years, there's just certain people, it's not everybody you do certain things for,
Right.
but you know who to do things for. And so I definitely honor you and the work that you do. So that's, why I'm here. And I'm just grateful that you asked me to be a part of your platform and this space, and to talk to those who also honor and respect you, and want to be in this space tonight. I do think that all of the people that are here, and we just have about 3-4 minutes. Everyone that's here, we all have, I always say, we all have this synergy. We all have this energy that brought us together, right? So one of the things that I do is I am someone who channels messages from on high, from the ethers. I am, again, that's sound, right? So even speaking is sound. So I just want to take a breath and tap in to see, like, what is the message, especially on this eve of the supermoon, lunar eclipse, all this energy. What is the message? What is the final message that needs to be said for everyone who's on here? If you don't mind.
No,
With
no, we actually have as much time as we need to take.
okay,
I just don't want to impose on any more of your time than you
okay.
have to give.
Just with permission from my elder to see.
Ah,
Okay.
shit.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is, everyone that's on, I'm hearing that it's in everyone's best interest to be more mindful about the words that we speak, the words that we speak, because we're constantly saying things that counteracts what it is that we actually want to do in life. Words of power. Speak truth over yourself. Every day you wake up, you should be speaking words and speaking over your body. Again, we talked about trauma a lot tonight. We talked about how the body never doesn't forget. Even when the mind stores things away from you, the body always remembers. Therefore, when you wake up in the morning, speak truth over your body. You know, you want to you want to center yourself, you want to speak the words, because the body is always listening. The body always remembers, but it's also listening all the time. So you want to start your day speaking over your body, talking to the various body parts, telling it what it is that you want it to do for you in that day. Okay. So you want to charge up your body with your words. Charge it up with your words. This is something that we have the ability to do, and it's something that we don't normally do. You know, speak words of power over our various body parts. You know, so yeah, I think that's important. That's what came out. That's what
We
came
receive it. I receive it. Hopefully, those who know that that is applicable, will because you know how you get. I think I said today I was purchasing some soap from a vendor, and I was standing there going, "My back is killing me."
Mm.
Not a good, not
Mhm.
a good statement because
Mhm.
So yeah, I get it. I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. You know, I'm gonna start saying my back is serving me.
Yes.
If my back
Yes.
is supporting me.
Yes. My back is supporting me. My back is, yeah, because that's essentially what it's doing. You
Mhm.
don't know what it took on, what it's holding for you in that moment. So you can thank it in that moment, you know. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one. Um that we need to be more mindful of. Oh man.
We're at the end of the.
Yes, my little 3-year old friend. I'm here with some. He's like, okay, now I've been quiet long
Quiet,
enough.
and he's on retreat vacation and he needs to
Yes,
enjoy himself. And I appreciate you. uh, we appreciate you. I think you've got a whole bunch of folk have fallen in love with Kyma, and we love ourselves too. We thank you so much
thank you.
for giving us that, beautiful affirmation and that testimony and that just encouragement. Keep moving forward, do your work, do what you came here to do. I think the bottom line is you gotta do what you came here to do, and you came here knowing that you were going to go through some stuff to do it, so just keep doing it anyway. So with that, we're going to let you go so that your 3-year-old friend can enjoy himself, and tell him that Dr. G and the crew appreciates his cooperation so much. We love you, and I'll see you next week at yoga.
Yes,
At yoga,
yoga. Yep.
at
Yes.
yoga. I'll see you next week. Till
Thank
next week.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Peace,
everyone.
everyone. Peace and blessings. Have
Yes,
a beautiful evening.
you too. There will be no class this Friday, folks. This is the fourth Friday, so there is no class. But Grand Chic will be back the following Friday. Until next time, peace.
Peace.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. 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 Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah,